My grandson called me at 5 a.m. and whispered, "Grandpa, please don't wear your red coat today." 4 hours later, I stood behind the yellow tape, staring at a woman lying where I should have been, at the bus stop outside my Montana farm, wearing a cherry red coat identical to mine. The woman lying at my bus stop was wearing my coat, not similar to mine, not the same brand or color. My coat, a cherry red wool peacoat I'd owned for 11 years, bought at the Bozeman Woolrich outlet when my wife Margaret was still alive. I'd worn it every Tuesday morning for the past decade, waiting for the 7:15 bus into town. But this morning, I wasn't wearing it, because my grandson had called me at 5:03 a.m., voice shaking, and whispered 7 words that saved my life. "Grandpa, please don't wear your red coat today." Now I stood behind the yellow crime scene tape, watching Sheriff Tom Brennan crouch over a body that should have been mine. The woman was face down on the gravel shoulder, arms twisted at wrong angles, red wool darkening with blood that pooled beneath her like spilled wine. A white sedan had struck her from behind. No skid marks, no attempt to stop, hit and run. That's what the deputies were calling it. But I knew better. I knew exactly what this was, and I knew exactly who had sent her. My name is Walter Reyes. I'm 73 years old, and I've worked the same 340 acres of Montana farmland for 51 years. My father bought this property in 1962 for $12,000, every penny he'd saved from 20 years of working the railroad. He died when I was 22, left me the land and a note that said, "This dirt is your legacy. Don't ever let anyone take it from you." I didn't. Through drought years and flood years, through falling crop prices and rising equipment costs, through Margaret's cancer diagnosis and the 18 months of treatment that drained our savings, through everything, I held on to this land, because it wasn't just dirt. It was my father's dream, my children's birthright, the only thing of real value I had to pass down. 3 years ago, that land became a problem. A real estate developer named Hartley Properties started buying up farms in our valley. They were building a massive resort complex, luxury cabins, a golf course, a Western experience destination for rich tourists who wanted to play cowboy for a week. Suddenly, my 340 acres wasn't worth $400,000 anymore. It was worth $4.2 million. I found out when a man in a $3,000 suit showed up at my door with a cashier's check and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Reyes, I'm prepared to offer you $4 million for your property. Today, right now, you could retire in comfort, travel the world, never worry about money again." I told him to get off my porch. He came back 3 more times. Each time the offer went up. 4 million, 4.2, 4.5. Each time, I said no. The land wasn't for sale. Not to him, not to anyone. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. My son Michael married Diane Foster 6 years ago. I should have seen the warning signs. Everyone else did. My daughter Sarah, my brother Frank, even my grandson Tyler, who was only 13 at the time, but told me flatly, "Dad's new girlfriend is weird, Grandpa. She looks at everything like she's calculating what it costs." But Michael was 42 and lonely. His first wife had left him for her personal trainer 5 years earlier, taking their house, half his savings, and most of his self-esteem. Diane was beautiful, attentive, and told him everything he wanted to hear. She was also calculating, cold, and very, very patient. For the first 3 years of their marriage, Diane was perfect, charming at family dinners, thoughtful with gifts, always asking about my health, my plans, my thoughts on the future. "Walter, you work so hard," she'd say, touching my arm with those manicured fingers. "Don't you ever think about slowing down, enjoying your golden years?" I told her I'd slow down when I was dead. She smiled at that, a smile I didn't understand until much later. The mask started slipping after the Hartley Properties offers became public knowledge. Suddenly, Diane wasn't asking about my health out of concern. She was asking because she needed to know how much longer she'd have to wait. Thanksgiving dinner, 3 years ago. 22 people crammed into my farmhouse. Kids running through the halls, football on the TV, the smell of turkey and Margaret's recipe for cornbread stuffing, the one I still made every year, even though it never tasted quite right without her. Diane cornered me in the kitchen while I was carving the bird. "Walter, I've been thinking." Her voice was honey sweet. "This farm must be such a burden for you. The equipment maintenance, the property taxes, the physical labor. You're not getting any younger." "I'm aware of my age, Diane. I just mean, wouldn't it be easier to sell? Michael and I could help you find a nice retirement community, somewhere warm, Arizona maybe. You wouldn't have to worry about anything." I set down the carving knife. "This land has been in my family for 60 years. My father worked himself to death building something he could leave to his children. I'm not selling it to some developer who wants to put up condominiums and martini bars. But the money, Walter, $4 million. I could what? Buy things I don't need? Travel places I don't want to go?" I picked up the knife again. "I have everything I want right here. This conversation is over." Diane's mask flickered, just for a second. A flash of something cold and hard beneath the surface. "You're being selfish," she said quietly. "This land is wasted on you. You're too old to work it, too stubborn to sell it. You're letting millions of dollars rot in the ground while your family struggles." "My family isn't struggling. Michael and I are. We have debt, Walter. Real debt. And you're sitting on a fortune you refuse to share." I turned to face her fully. "Get out of my kitchen. Get out of my house. And And don't come back until you remember how to speak to your elders. The dining room went silent. Everyone had heard. Diane's face went red, then white, then settled into a calm, pleasant mask that didn't reach her eyes. Of course, Walter. I apologize. I was out of line. She walked out with her head high, collected her coat and purse, told Michael she had a headache and needed to leave. Michael followed her like he always did. He didn't say a word to me. That was the night I realized my daughter-in-law wasn't just greedy. She was dangerous. For the next 2 years I watched. Diane stopped coming to family dinners. Michael made excuses, work commitments, travel schedules, mysterious appointments that always seemed to fall on holidays. But I heard things from Sarah, from Tyler, from the network of cousins and neighbors who kept an eye on each other's business. Diane had quit her job at the real estate agency. She was spending money faster than Michael could make it. Credit card debt climbing into 6 figures. A second mortgage on their house. Whispered arguments overheard by Tyler when he visited. When is the old man going to die? That's what Tyler heard Diane say once. He's 71. How much longer can he possibly last? Tyler told me about it the next day. Sat across from me at this very kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee, looking older than 19. Grandpa, I think Mom is planning something. Your stepmother. Whatever. She's not planning to wait anymore. She's got this look in her eyes, like she's done waiting for you to die naturally. I nodded slowly. Then I suppose we'd better find out what she's planning. 3 weeks before the woman died in my coat, Tyler found the documents. He'd been cultivating a relationship with Diane for months, pretending to take her side, agreeing that I was stubborn, selfish, wasting the family's future, playing the role of the disgruntled grandson who resented his inheritance being tied up in dirt he didn't want. Diane bought it. She was so hungry for allies, so desperate for validation, that she never questioned why Tyler had suddenly come around to her point of view. I can help convince him, Tyler told her. He trusts me. If I tell him it's time to sell, he might actually listen. Would you do that? For the right incentive. What's my cut? Diane smiled. 10%, $400,000, enough to set you up for life, Tyler agreed, shook her hand, started attending strategy sessions at her house while Michael was at work. And on the 3rd Sunday in October, while Diane was in the bathroom during one of those sessions, Tyler went through her briefcase. He found a manila folder labeled Reyes Property. Inside were 3 documents. The first was a copy of my farm's deed, the real one, recorded at the Gallatin County Clerk's office in 1962. The second was a forged deed. My signature at the bottom, copied perfectly from checks and legal documents Diane had collected over the years. A transfer of ownership to Michael David Reyes and Diane Marie Foster Reyes, dated 6 months earlier. The third was a death certificate template, blank, waiting to be filled in. Tyler photographed everything, put the folder back exactly as he'd found it, sat through the rest of the meeting with a smile on his face and ice in his veins. Then he drove straight to my house. She's not just planning to steal the land, Tyler said, spreading the photographs across my kitchen table. She's planning to kill you. I looked at the forged deed, at my signature, reproduced so perfectly, I almost believed I'd signed it myself. The deed is useless while I'm alive. Any lawyer would check the county records, see the discrepancy, investigate. Exactly. So you have to die first. Then she files the forged deed, claims you signed it months ago, inherits through Michael, who probably doesn't know anything about this. Dad's clueless. Tyler's voice was bitter. He thinks Mom hung the moon. He doesn't see anything she doesn't want him to see. I studied my grandson, 19 years old, carrying a weight no kid his age should have to carry. What do you want to do? I want to bring her down. I want to expose every single thing she's done and watch her go to prison. That's a big ambition. She's trying to kill my grandfather. Big ambitions seem appropriate. I almost smiled. All right then, let's set a trap. Over the next 2 weeks, Tyler dug deeper. He kept playing his role, the cooperative grandson, eager to help, asking questions about the plan without seeming too curious. Diane was so confident in her scheme that she'd started to brag about it. I've got someone handling the difficult part, she told Tyler during their 4th meeting. A professional, clean record, untraceable. She's done this kind of thing before. Done what kind of thing? Made problems disappear. Permanently. Tyler pressed for details. Got a name, Karen Wells, a woman with no criminal record, no known associates, nothing connecting her to Diane except a series of cash payments and burner phone communications. The plan, as Tyler pieced it together, was elegant in its simplicity. Karen would stake out my Tuesday morning routine, the walk to the bus stop, the 7:15 pickup, the ride into town for my weekly grocery shopping and coffee with friends. She'd wear a red coat identical to mine, wait at the stop until I arrived. Then something would happen. An accident, a car running a red light, a distracted driver losing control, an elderly man in a red coat struck from behind, dead before he hit the ground. The forensics would be messy. The coat would confuse witnesses, and by the time anyone sorted out what happened, the forged deed would be filed and Diane would be in control of $4.2 million in property. But somewhere along the way, Karen got greedy. She wanted more money, threatened to expose the whole plan if Diane didn't pay her another $50,000. Diane's solution was characteristically ruthless. She hired her brother Craig to handle it. Same bus stop, same red coat, same method. Karen would die where I was supposed to die, wearing the coat she was supposed to use to frame my death. Poetic, in a sick way. The only problem was timing. Tyler found out about the change in plans the night before Karen was scheduled to act. He intercepted a text on Diane's phone. She'd left it unlocked on the kitchen counter while making coffee. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. The woman first, the old man next week. Signed, C. Craig. Tyler called me at 5:03 a.m. Grandpa, please don't wear your red coat today. I didn't ask questions, didn't argue, just said okay and went back to bed. 4 hours later, Karen Wells was dead, and Diane's perfect plan started falling apart. Sheriff Tom Brennan had been a friend of mine for 40 years. We'd served on the volunteer fire department together, coached Little League in the same season, sat beside each other at Margaret's funeral while he held my hand and didn't say a word because there were no words worth saying. When he showed up at my door that afternoon, I knew it wasn't a social call. Walter, he took off his hat. I need to talk to you about the woman at your bus stop. Come in. We sat at the kitchen table. Tom's face was gray, lined with the kind of stress that comes from seeing things most people never have to see. Her name was Karen Wells, 44 years old. No fixed address, no known employment, no family we can locate. She had 2 items on her that don't make sense. What items? Tom pulled out his phone, showed me photographs. The first was the forged deed. My name, my signature, a transfer of ownership that would have made Diane a millionaire. This was in her coat pocket. Your coat, Walter. The red one. I nodded slowly. I know. Tom's eyes sharpened. You know? I know about the deed. I know about Diane. I know about all of it. Then I think you'd better start talking. I told Tom everything. Tyler's investigation, the photographed documents, the overheard conversations, the text message about the woman first, the old man next week. When I finished, Tom sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. Jesus Christ, Walter. I know. Your own daughter-in-law. I know. And you just sat there, waited for her to make her move? What was I supposed to do, Tom? Go to the police with photographs of documents that might have been forged, with second-hand accounts of conversations my grandson overheard? Diane's a smart woman. She'd have talked her way out of it, played the victim, convinced everyone I was a paranoid old man trying to cut my son out of his inheritance. So you let her go through with it. Let Karen Wells die. I didn't let anyone die. My voice went hard. I didn't know Karen was going to be murdered. I thought she was the threat. I stayed home because Tyler warned me something was wrong. I didn't know Diane had decided to eliminate her hitwoman. Tom was quiet for a long moment. There's more, he finally said. The burner phone in her pocket. We traced the texts. They came from a number registered to someone named D. Diane. That's my assumption. But there's also this. He showed me another photograph. Security camera footage from the Enterprise rental office on Main Street. A man standing at the counter, signing paperwork, paying cash. Craig Foster, Diane's brother. We matched the plate to the car that hit Karen Wells. Enterprise reported it returned this morning with front-end damage. The driver claimed he hit a deer. A deer wearing a red coat? Exactly. Tom put his phone away. I'm going to arrest Craig Foster within the hour. And when I do, I'm going to offer him a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. You think he'll take it? Tom smiled grimly. Craig Foster has 3 DUIs, a gambling addiction, and a sister who's been bailing him out for 20 years. When he realizes she set him up to take the fall for murder, he'll sing like a canary. Craig broke in 47 minutes. Detective Sandra Martinez, 14 years with the Major Crimes Unit, conducted the interrogation. I watched through the one-way glass with Tom and Tyler, who'd driven down the moment I called him. Craig's face was gray and sweating under the fluorescent lights. His hands shook when he reached for the water cup. He looked like a man watching his entire life collapse in real time. She said it would be clean, he mumbled. Said no one would ever know. I just had to rent a car, drive to a specific spot, hit the gas. She said Karen was a threat. Said Karen was going to expose everything. And Walter Reyes? Detective Martinez asked. What was the plan for him? Next week. Same method, same location. Diane said once Karen was dealt with, we'd wait a few days, then finish the job. Finish the job. You mean murder a 73-year-old man for his property? Craig's face crumpled. I didn't want to. But Diane, she has this way of making things seem reasonable. Like it's not really murder, it's just solving a problem. The old man was going to die anyway, she said. We were just speeding up the timeline. And in exchange, 20%. $800,000. Once the land sold, I'd get my cut. Martinez slid a piece of paper across the table. We need you to sign a statement. Full account of everything Diane told you, everything you did, everything you know about her plans. In exchange, the DA is prepared to offer second-degree murder instead of first. 15 to 25 years instead of life without parole. Craig stared at the paper. She's going to kill me. When she finds out I talked, she's going to find a way to kill me. She's going to be in custody within the hour. She won't be killing anyone. Craig picked up the pen. He signed. Tom called me at 4:15 p.m. We're moving on Diane now. Thought you might want to be there. I drove to Michael's house. The house I'd helped them buy 7 years ago, back when I still believed Diane might actually love my son. Tyler met me in the driveway. His face was pale but determined. You ready for this, Grandpa? I've been ready for 3 years. 2 sheriff's cruisers pulled up behind us. Tom stepped out of the lead car, followed by Detective Martinez and 2 uniformed deputies. Stay behind us until she's secured, Tom said. This woman has already already ordered 2 murders. I don't want to take any chances. We walked up the path together. Tom knocked on the front door. Michael opened it. My son looked confused, worried, like a man who'd just woken up from a long sleep and didn't recognize his surroundings. Sheriff Brennan? What's going on? Is your wife home, Michael? She's in the kitchen. Why? What's this about? Tom didn't answer, just stepped past him into the house. We followed. Diane was at the kitchen island, laptop open, a glass of white wine at her elbow. She was wearing a cream silk blouse and diamond earrings, the ones Michael had given her for their anniversary last year. She looked up when we entered. Her expression cycled through surprise, confusion, and calculation in about 2 seconds. Sheriff, this is unexpected. She smiled, that perfect, practiced smile that had fooled everyone for years. What can I do for you? Tom didn't smile back. Diane Foster Reyes, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree, fraud, and forgery. The smile froze on her face. I'm sorry. What? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. This is insane. Diane stood up fast, knocking over her wine glass. I haven't done anything. Michael, call our lawyer. Michael stood in the doorway, frozen, staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Michael! Diane's voice cracked. Don't just stand there. Do something. Diane. Michael's voice was barely a whisper. What did you do? Nothing. This is a misunderstanding. Walter. She turned to me, desperation leaking through the cracks in her mask. Tell them this is ridiculous. I stepped forward, looked her in the eyes, the same eyes that had calculated the value of my land while pretending to care about my health, the same eyes that had watched me carve Thanksgiving turkey while planning my death, the same eyes that had smiled at me across Sunday dinner tables for 3 years while she plotted to steal everything my father built. You tried to steal my land, I said quietly. You forged my signature. You hired a woman to kill me. And when she threatened to expose you, you had your brother run her down at the same bus stop where I was supposed to die. That's ridiculous. You have no proof. Tom held up his phone. We have your brother's full confession, recorded and signed. The color drained from Diane's face. Tom pressed play. Craig's voice filled the kitchen, thin and trembling through the phone's speakers. She said once Karen was dealt with, we'd wait a few days, then finish the job. The old man first. Then we'd file the forged deed, claim he signed it before he died, take control of the property. Diane's hands started to shake. Diane said it wasn't really murder. She said he was going to die anyway. We were just speeding up the timeline. Turn it off, Diane whispered. Turn it off. Tom kept playing, her own voice now pulled from text messages and voicemails Craig had saved. Make it look like an accident. The woman first, then the old man next week. I don't want any loose ends. The recording ended. Silence. Michael spoke. His voice cracked. Diane, you tried to murder my father? She turned to him. The mask was gone now. Nothing left but desperation and rage. I did this for us, Michael. For our future. That farm is worth millions, and your father was just going to let it rot in the ground. He's old. He was going to die anyway. I just wanted us to have what we deserved. What we deserved? Michael stepped back. You tried to kill my father. He's 73. He's lived his life. We have our whole futures ahead of us. The deputies moved forward, took her arms, pulled them behind her back. Handcuffs clicked. Diane screamed. This isn't fair. I was trying to help. Michael, tell them. Tell them I was just trying to help. Michael didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there with tears streaming down his face while his wife was dragged past him in handcuffs. She screamed the whole way to the cruiser. Threats, excuses, promises of lawyers and lawsuits and revenge. The door slammed. The screaming stopped, and my son collapsed against the wall and sobbed like a child. Tyler and I stood on the porch, watching them put Diane in the back of the cruiser. The sun was setting over the mountains, orange and gold bleeding across the sky. The same view my father had watched from this spot 60 years ago, when he'd signed the papers that made this land ours. Through the cruiser's window, Diane looked at me. Pure hatred, undiluted. The mask gone forever, nothing left but the monster underneath. I waved, the same wave she'd given me every Sunday dinner for 3 years while she plotted my death. The cruiser pulled away. Tyler let out a long breath. It's over. Not quite. I watched the taillights disappear down the road. There's still the trial, the testimony, the sentencing. But she's done. She can't hurt you anymore. No, she can't. We stood in silence for a while. The sky darkened. Stars began to appear. Grandpa, Tyler said finally, what are you going to do with the farm now? I thought about it. Thought about the developers and their offers. The money I didn't need. The retirement I didn't want. Thought about my father's note. This dirt is your legacy. Don't ever let anyone take it from you. I'm going to keep working it, I said, same as I always have. And when I die, when I actually die, on my own terms, in my own time, I'm going to leave it to you. Tyler looked at me. Me? You saved my life. You spent months pretending to be something you weren't, playing a role that must have made you sick, just to protect an old man and his dirt. I put my hand on his shoulder. This land was always meant to go to someone who understood what it was worth, not in dollars, in history, in sacrifice, in family. Tyler's eyes were bright with tears he was too proud to shed. I'll take care of it, Grandpa. I promise. I know you will.